All right, so I am back at that local comic show again. I didn't go last month. Can't remember if I went the month before. I think I did. But I like to take usually like a month or two between it, because then I often find new stuff. If I go every single month, there's often the same books every time. So hopefully we find some cool stuff. Let's get in there. Let's check it out. All right, so just got out of the show, and one of the dealers I really like wasn't at this one. I think he's gonna be at a different show next week, so he doesn't come to this one. And I was a little worried when I walked in, because the dealer that I typically like to go to, that I always check out his boxes, was I didn't see him there. But then, then I found him, so it's okay. And so I ended up picking up a few books from him. I'm probably going to add a few books from a recent, some recent pickups I've done through Instagram as well, just to make, a few more things to talk about. But picked up some cool books. Happy with those. Let's go check these out. All right, so we are back, ready to go through these books. Like, I don't remember if I said it in the earlier part of the video, I picked up 4 books. So I got 4 books here. And then, because it's just 4 books, I've also got a package that I got recently that has a bunch of cool books in it too. Now, with the 4 books that I picked up from the show, figured we'd also go over what I paid for them. Then we'll go through GPA, if I'm going to get them graded, pricing, all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's get started. Let's check out these books. First one here, even though I mock it, but when I see a good deal, I'm still going to pick it up. This one was a Bronze Age horror book, pretty classic cover, a Neil Adams cover. This is House of Secrets number 88, and just classic Neil Adams cover. And this one's actually pretty nice condition. Once I got it home and I started checking it out, I think after a press, this book I think it's at least a 7.5 to an 8. It might get an 8.5. There's like a little bit of staple rust that I think might hold it back a little bit, but it's a pretty nice book. It's got like a stacking curl, which is the thing that hurts it if you just have it like this, unpressed. But actually just a few spine ticks. I think there's like 12 spine ticks, somewhere in that range. And that stacking curl, and otherwise very nice copy. And so I will very likely get this one pressed and graded. But we'll talk about pricing and that kind of stuff a little bit later. Then we've got this one here. This is a cool one to find. This is a pretty uncommon book. And if you don't know what it is, then you're probably just going to skip right past it. This is Little Dot number 4, which is the 4th appearance of 2 characters, one being Little Lotta, who's not nearly as popular of a character right now, but the other one being Richie Rich, who's another character that I make fun of because of how much like that Richie Rich number 1 goes for, which isn't even his first appearance. His first appearance is actually Little Dot number 1. But this is Little Dot number 4, 4th appearance of Richie Rich. Actually a pretty pricey book and a pretty obscure book. So one of those things that it's just useful to know that information when you're flipping through boxes and whether you're at maybe like an antique shop. I feel like this is one that you might come across, and this one definitely has some value to it. We'll talk about that one too. Then we've got this one, which is just kind of like a fun cheesecake type golden age cover. And it's got that good girl element to it as well. This is Everything Happens to Harvey number 1. And you can see it's got like he's judging a swimsuit competition, and these 3 women are threatening him if he doesn't pick them. So yeah, just kind of like a fun, like I said, like cheesecake type cover. But you've got the good girl art, golden age swimsuit cover, that kind of thing. So cool one to get, and a number 1, which is always, I like number 1s. Being a number 1 is a little added value. Now, this one is actually the most expensive, this last one here, of the books I picked up at the show. And another one that if you don't know what it is, you probably would just flip right past it. And this is Adventures of the Fly, #4. And the thing that makes this one important is this is the first Neil Adams artwork. And I don't know if I want to take it out right now. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll take it out right now. And so you can see that first Neil Adams artwork. And this was actually a pretty decent copy. It's got a tear on the bottom edge that's maybe like 3/4 of an inch. But otherwise, it's got a little bit of spine wear, but pretty nice book. And so let me find it's just one panel. And here it is. So it's one panel. Get around this mic here. It's that bottom panel there that's we'll say like this one right here, that big one, that long one that takes up the full width of the page. That is the Neil Adams panel. And so that's the one panel that he did in Adventures of the Fly, #4, and that is his first published artwork. So I mean, it's definitely one that's the reason this book is a key. It's not really a key otherwise. You might not realize that, his first work was in an Archie publication. Like you can see here, it's like, this is an Archie publication. That's where Neil Adams' first work was. But, that's what it is. And this one, like I said, it's got that tear on the bottom, but it's actually a pretty nice copy. I think I've got it between a 5 and a 5.5 after I get it pressed. And here, if you can see that, there's this tear here. And this one isn't really a full tear. It's more like a scratch, like a deep scratch. And then there's a little spine wear here. But otherwise, it's a very nice copy, fully attached and everything, pretty sharp corners and edges. So I wouldn't be shocked even if it got a 6, but I think a 5 to a 5.5 with this one. All right, so those are the 4 books I picked up the show. Like I said, later on, we're going to talk about pricing and we'll go over kind of like GPA and see how I did on those books. But first, before we do that, this is a box I've been wanting to get into for a little bit. I've had it sitting around for, I don't know, maybe a week and a half. These are some books I picked up recently. And just so we go over a few more books. And there's quite a few in here. I picked up, I don't remember. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 books I picked up in this one. All right. So let's organize these a little bit. There we go. There's a pretty decent variety in this one. All right. So here's the 8 books, all in Mylar. So they're all going to look really nice. Some of them are actually pretty decent condition books. So this first one here, got some pre-code horror. Always got to have pre-code horror in one of these videos. This is Mystery Tales #9. Actually, not a book that I've seen very often. This is from Atlas Publications, precursor to Marvel, and just a pretty cool kind of like, zombie cover. It's a pretty creepy cover. They're like in the morgue. You got this guy coming out of the drawer or whatever you say there. So, but yeah, Mystery Tales #9, pretty cool pre-code horror cover. Then another Atlas book. Same issue number, Strange Tales #9. And I like the red covers. Red covers always pop pretty well. Looks like this is, vampire cover. So Strange Tales #9. Then we've got this one, which I believe is a pretty nice copy. It was like a 6.5 or 7, something like that. Or that was the estimate. So this is Superman #67. So nothing like key about it, but pretty early Superman, Golden Age Superman in a relatively high grade. Like I said, I think it was estimated, let me see here. I think it was estimated as a 6.5 or so. Yeah, it's estimated as a 7. The Mystery Tales was estimated as a 4.5 and the Strange Tales a 4. But yeah, this one, pretty nice copy. And it looks nice. Obviously I'll take it out and I'll check it and everything, but staples look tight and everything. A little bit of like tears at the staples. So Superman #67. This is a cool cover. This is a Don Heck cover. Let's see. What was the grade estimate on this one? This one was estimated as a 4. This is Weird Terror #11. So we've got Weird Terror #11. The Don Heck covers are always pretty cool. And this title always has this really cool, like the blood coming down the title and everything. but Weird Terror number 11. Then got some Matt Baker romance. Let me see. This is number 11 as well. This is Diary Secrets number 11. These runs can be pretty tough to come by. But let's see, what was the grade estimate on this one? This one was graded as a 4.5, estimated as a 4.5. But Diary Secrets number 11. And then we've got an Alex Schomburg. I think this one was estimated as pretty nice too. This one is Exciting Comics number 58, estimated at a 6.5. So pretty cool Alex Schomburg, kind of like Good Girl airbrush cover. It definitely needs like a little bit of a press. I don't know if it would get a 6.5. Maybe. I think it doesn't look like it to me. Yeah, I think there's too many flaws on this book for a 6.5. We'll see. We'll see how it does. Once I get a closer look kind of out of the bag. But there's just there's some creasing down in the corner there. There's some tears in the top edge. I think it's, I don't know, I'd say probably at least like a 5.5 to a 6. I'm not sure if we could get a 6.5. But that's Exciting Comics number, what was that, 58. Then this was a low grade copy. I think it was like a 1.0 or something. Yeah, 1.0. Captain Science number 3. Just kind of like a crazy Good Girl Art sci-fi cover on this one. There are a few covers in this time period where you've got like the women strapped to the front of a plane like this. Just pretty wild covers. But Captain Science number 3. And the last one here, pretty cool cover. This is, oh yeah, and I got to check the issue number because they don't have these on the covers here. This is Beyond number 29. Estimate is a 5.0. This is one of the cool covers from this run. There's a mix. Like there's some great covers. There's some that aren't so great. The most favorite one, I think, by most people is the skeleton pilots. I also really like the one where the skeleton is kind of like the deep sea diver. This is a pretty cool one too. The zombie cover guy, the hand coming up out of the ground. But yeah, Beyond is a cool run. The Ace Publications is a publisher you generally don't come across too often. They're relatively obscure, but Beyond has some really cool issues in it. All right, so those are all the books that I picked up there. Picked those up off of Instagram. Now, let's talk about these books here. What I paid, how I think I did on them, what kind of like my estimates are for these books. All right, so first things first, going to share my screen here, and let's take a look at the first one that we talked about, The House of Secrets number 88. So that's this book right here. And like I said, I have this one at a 7.5 to an 8. I think it has an outside shot at an 8.5, just based on it would need a press. Definitely needs a press because of that stacking curl. If you're not familiar with a stacking curl, let's see if you can see it here. It's like this indentation. You can see that along the spine just from books being like stacked up on one another or so easy to press out though. So it's not something you really need to worry about. Definitely a pressable defect on this book. Now let's go down to the grades here. And obviously I'm looking at graded prices. And so this is what I think I can get for this book after I've gotten it pressed and cleaned and graded. And so at a 7.5 to an 8, you can see an 8 recently sold for $163. So I have this book estimated at $150. I paid $32 for it. And so after approximately $50 for pressing and cleaning and grading, 50 to 55, I'll be into it. $87 then after fees and everything. I think I can make about $40 to $45 on this book. And that's like a 49% return. I mean, when I'm looking at percent returns, like I'm comparing to other things that I can get returns on. 49% return on a book is pretty good. And so, like I said, I picked this one up for $32, add in the pressing and cleaning and grading. I think I can sell it for at least $150. I mean, if I get lucky and it hits the 8.5, you can see like 8.5 last sold for $240. So I think I'm pretty safe on that book. Now, the next book we will talk about here is That Little Dot. So this is that Little Dot, number 4, that fourth appearance of Richie Rich. Now, this one is a lower grade book. It is a detached cover, very a lot of wear on the spine. I have it as a 1.5 to a 1.8. I picked this one up for $85, and I think I can sell this one raw for at least 175, maybe 200. And so we can take a look at what the GPA prices are, but I'm like I said, this is one that I don't feel like I need to get this one graded, especially down in the condition that it's in. So if we take a look at little dot number 4, and you can see here 1954 Harvey Publications, and I think there's only 9 graded copies, so you're not going to have sales very often. And so like we had a 9.4 5 years ago sell for 1560. We had an 8.0 5 years ago sell for 480. But I'm going to go look at what's available. That's definitely something that you need to consider, especially with golden age books. Is last sale, especially when it's 6 years ago, doesn't matter all that much. It's what are you competing with. And so if we look at little dot number 4, we've got an 8.0 that's currently available for $695, and we have this raw copy estimated at a fine plus for $459. So there are 2 copies of this book currently available. And that's it. And you could either pay $459 for this one, $695 for this one, or this one I would put up probably at around like 200. I'd probably accept like 175. But this book I paid $85 for. I mean, that's, if I sell it for 175 after fees and everything like that, that's like $65 to $70 that I make off of it. And so I think it was a pretty good pickup. That's like a 78% return. So I'm very happy with that pickup as well. And just a really obscure book. And yeah, that type of book might take a little longer to sell. It might take a year, might take 2 years for that book to sell. I'm fine with that. I just list it, I keep it up there, and when it sells, it sells. Now the next one, another one that I'm not planning on getting graded, is this Everything Happens to Harvey. Now this one I picked up for $60. I have it estimated, so that's this book right here. I have it estimated as a 2 to a 2.5. Could it do better? Maybe. I mean, so there's this copy right here that's estimated as a 1.8. This copy is definitely better than that copy. This copy has a pretty significant splits. You can see on the top of the spine and on the bottom of the spine. My copy here, this one does have a piece out of the bottom of the back cover. So that's like the bigger flaw with this one. This one presentation wise is quite a bit better, because you can see this copy here also has a piece out of the corner. The one on this one that's missing is a very similar size, but on the back cover. So like I said, I have this one as like a 2 to a 2.5. I paid $60. I think at least 90. You can see you've got My Comic Shop has it at as a $100 book. Then you've got this one here, which I would say is a better looking copy for 170, and this 3.0 for 360. I think those are the only copies available of this. Yeah, of this one. And so I think I could maybe ask a little more. Maybe I could ask like 125, 115, but I'd be comfortable accepting 90, and that's about a 29% return. Again, that's perfectly fine with me. I'm perfectly happy with that. With a book like this, I'll just list it, keep it up there, and when it sells, it sells. Now, the last one here, we've got this Adventures of the Fly number 4. So if we do Fly number 4, and with this book, there are quite a few copies that are out there, but a lot of them are relatively lower grade copies of this book. And so now, this one right here, I have estimated as a 5.5, 5 to 5.5. And like I said, I would not be shocked if it got a 6. Like, it's a pretty solid copy of this book. Very nice. Other than that, it has that tear on the bottom there, and then a little bit of spine wear that I showed earlier in the video. You can see here, you haven't had a graded sale for a few months, like 4 or 5 months. But the last 5.5 here was for $390 in November. In October, we had a 5.0 for $395. So very comfortably, I think this is a $375 book, maybe upwards of a $400 book. For this one, I paid $163. So I paid $163 for this copy. If I have to spend, again, about $55, $50 or $55 for grading and all that, I would make, after this sells, if it sold at $375, $105. And so I think 105 to 115 kind of is my profit. That's about 48%. So around 50% return on this book. And again, I'd be very happy with that for any book. And so that Adventures of the Fly, first Neil Adams artwork, pretty cool little one. Just another one of those that it's good to know this cover. It's just one of those that, like I said, it's good to know this cover because I feel like you would just flip right past this book. Like you really wouldn't pay much attention to this book if you did not know that this was that first Neil Adams artwork that's inside this copy. There are some people that list it as the first cover. It is not. He did not do the cover. It's just that interior panel. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Got some useful information out of it, kind of like what I'm looking at if I'm looking at these books, how I decide if I'm going to grade a book or not. Like I said, with this Adventures of the Fly, just because it is a little bit nicer copy and there's a lot of raws available, there's a big benefit to getting this one graded. Whereas these a little bit more obscure books, like this one here, this Everything Happens to Harvey and the little dot, number 4. There's only a couple other copies available and they're a little bit lower grade. I don't feel like there's that added value to getting these graded, to putting that extra 50 or whatever dollars into it. It's going to eat all the profit margin on these books. And so these ones I would not get graded. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, all that kind of stuff. Get more videos over here. If you'd like to watch some of my other videos, subscription button is right here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video.